I was just counting down on the camera here for the Roundtable. Welcome to this episode of the Roundtable, and realized that I couldn't actually count with my fingers anymore for whatever reason. I went 3, 2, and I totally skipped 2. Templar, does this mean that football season is officially over? That I don't know how to count to 3 anymore? Like, is that what happens to a male that watches football?
Well, as Lions fans, we really need to be able to count to 4 because, they pretty consistently use all 4 of those downs, don't they? So,
my goodness.
Yeah, man, you got to up your game if you can't even count to 3 now. By start of next season, you got to pick it back up to 4, baby. Dan Gamble's going to be at it,
biting kneecaps and scoring all the way
going for it on fourth down.
I would love to in a few minutes pull up some percentages and see where the Lions were in terms of fourth down percentage. I think they were near the top of the NFL this year.
They were the most in terms of going for it. I don't know if they were the most in terms of conversions, but I know they were the most in terms of attempts.
Yeah. Well, like you can probably already tell. Welcome to the Roundtable. This is episode 8, I think. We're not going to be talking about video games or movies or nerd things, unless you're a sports nerd. Welcome in. We're actually going to be kind of giving a little bit of our reaction to the Super Bowl 2025, won by, of course, the Philadelphia Eagles, which we'll talk about in a few minutes, as well as kind of general thoughts and feelings about the NFL season this last year, 24-25 season. And then we want to dive into our favorite team, the Detroit Lions. I know Templar has a few thoughts. I have a few thoughts. It was a rough year for us as Lions fans, and we'll explain why I feel more privileged than I ever have, and also more deeply despairing than I ever have.
Rough ending to the year. The year itself was a good year.
Yeah, it was a good year.
Ending to the year. Yes.
So let's talk the Super Bowl first. I'm going to pull up the screen here, and as you can see right in front of me, the Philadelphia Eagles defeated the Kansas City Chiefs 40-22, and really it wasn't even really 40-22.
Wasn't that close?
No, it was like 40-6, really. Maybe 40 to 13.
For the majority of this game, the Chiefs got a couple scores at the end to make it seem like it was a slightly more competitive, but for a long stretches, this game was the Seahawks-Broncos Super Bowl, where the first year, like the 2013 year, where the Broncos set every offensive record.
Good call.
Obviously, the Chiefs didn't do that, but they got to the Super Bowl and they got blown out like 40-6 or 40 something to 6. Absolutely dominated. This game was looking like that for a long time.
Good call. I totally forgot about that. What Super Bowl was that? Super Bowl 2016, was it? The 24-10 one? No,
that's the one they won. It was the 2014. In 2014, I think it took place.
43-8, right? Oh gosh, that was a bad one.
Yeah, the offense that set every record, I think, is still the number 1 scoring offense of all time.
Yeah,
and then got absolutely smacked in the Super Bowl.
That was the very first play from scrimmage was the fumble over Peyton Manning's head. You remember that?
Yeah, right. The shotgun snap over his head. There was a bunch of stuff. There was a big special teams play early in that game. Fumble, I want to say, or a touchdown, and that game was out of hand immediately, and it never, the Broncos never came back. But this game was looking like that for a long time. The Chiefs just never seemed in it, and the Eagles defense, which obviously Saquon got a lot of attention this year, as he should have. The Eagles defense, man, that defensive line, especially all those Georgia players and Jalen Carter, especially the Chiefs had been skating by all year. And I mean, it's hard to say that about a 15-win team, but they won so many games by the skin of their teeth, and it eventually just caught up with them. Eventually they ran into a team whose defensive line was so good that the Chiefs offensive line, Patrick Mahomes made that line look much better than they were. Yeah. And they have some very good players. Sure, their center is very good. One of their guards, Joe Tooney, I think his name is.
Yep.
Is also very good. So they have some good players on it, but as a whole, it's weak at the tackle spot. And the Eagles' D-line just dominated it, and they have great coverage players on the back end. So guys just weren't getting open. And Travis Kelce, I mean, the Eagles' defense is very good in coverage, both linebackers and, safeties and corners. So credit to them. But this has been coming for a while with Kelce, that he has been gradually slowing down. But every year in the playoffs, it's like, they give him a shot of something, and then he can like be the old Travis Kelce for a couple games, but not this year. At least not in this game. Not in this game, anyway.
And like, don't take anything away from Travis Kelce. He's great. He's an all-timer.
No, of course not. He's a Hall of Fame tight end, one of the greatest tight ends of all time.
Right.
No disrespect to Travis Kelce.
No.
Age comes for everybody. Like, time comes for everyone, and
yep.
It seems like maybe it is that time.
Yeah. What is he? 36, 30, he's 35. Yeah, he will be 36 in the middle of next season, which is pretty old for a tight end who just is constantly getting banged on and hit and, all those things. And
primarily pass catching tight end. Like, he's not in there blocking. Like, no. So this is a guy who needs to have some amount of explosiveness. Like, being wily and sort of understanding where zones are is only going to get you so far. So
there were two things that stuck out to me. Well, three big things that stuck out to me. Number one, when talking of Kelce and Mahomes, in particular, Kelce dropped his very first ball, and I think it was like on the 15-yard line or 20-yard line or something that Mahomes threw at him. And granted, it was a little low, but it was also like, you could tell it was like, like he was trying to get down, and you could just feel like creaking. So that was number one. Number two, sure. Patrick Mahomes had a QBR, a quarterback rating of 10 in the first quarter. It goes up to 157, and it was a QBR of 10. Number two. Number three, I kept screaming they couldn't block. The Eagles, the entire game, never blitzed. All they did was pressure with four guys. I don't know if you noticed that, but Vic Fangio never called a blitz, which is insane. So if you don't ever have to call a blitz and you're getting pressure with four dudes, that means you can drop 7 dudes into coverage every time, which means that Mahomes needs to have. And again, I'm not taking anything away from Mahomes. I think he's amazing. He's a prodigy at the quarterback position. On his best day, and I'm a Tom Brady lover. Like, he's a man crush of mine. University of Michigan grad, all the things. But in his prime, Patrick Mahomes he plays the quarterback position better than Tom Brady does. It's not a better like overall quarterback, but he plays the position better than Tom Brady because he's mobile, because he can find the things. He did that one play where it was like that kind of like shovel, like that scoop sort of shovel thing, like in the beginning of the third quarter. And I was like, all right, he's going to try to make a game of this. And then it was just like, it was a fart. It was just a wet fart after that. So there was all that. The biggest thing that kept that I knew this game was going to get out of hand was that pick six, man. Like, that pick six just does not happen. And you saw that Cooper DeJean running back like he had his hair on fire, and it was over at that point. I mean, that was literally like it. The entire Chiefs sideline just deflated. And I also don't think it helped that the Superdome felt like it was a home game for Philly. It was just like, I don't know what it was, man. There were so many Eagles fans there. It was so loud.
Well, the position, well, one, shout out Iowa, Cooper DeJean.
Yes.
The thing with the Chiefs is they're in Patriots territory now, where it's like, if you're not a Chiefs fan explicitly, you're likely not cheering for the Chiefs.
True.
So, like, however many Eagles fans were there, it's likely a significant percentage of all the people who were there who were not Eagles or Chiefs fans, of which at the Super Bowl there's always a good percentage, just because of how the Super Bowl works, were likely cheering for the Eagles, not the Chiefs. Like, the people who were not explicitly Chiefs fans were likely not cheering for them. So that makes it tough, and what makes it can seem like a home game for the Eagles.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, the Chiefs by this year, and I think everyone just believed, like, it's the Chiefs, it's the playoffs, like, they always just play so much better. Even again, it's funny to say a team that could have won 16 games if they'd played their starters in week 18. Said they had like kind of not a great season, but like, they just didn't look great in a lot of their wins this year. And a lot of it just caught up with them. And the Eagles, yeah, I mean, their offensive line is probably the best in the league. Like, I know people talk the Lions, and we'll talk Lions, but I think the Eagles O-line is probably better. Yeah. And Saquon is just killing it. So
he didn't in this game. They shut him down. I will say that was impressive how they shut him down. up until about the middle of the third quarter when you could tell they were all tired, but they just let Hurts run wild on them.
Well, yeah, but that's the thing. So if that's the decision you're going to make is we're going to sell out to stop Saquon, then you're going to give up something in the passing game, which they did. And I don't blame them. Like, as it's funny to say this after, because Jalen Hurts had such a good game. Jalen Hurts is the weak link of that offense,
100%,
in my opinion.
100%.
Like, I think, and like, that's, no disrespect to Jalen Hurts. I think he's a very good quarterback, but like, he has games where he's not really on, and it seems like it just doesn't go that well in the passing game. And so their strategy of we're going to sell out to stop Saquon, and we'll force Jalen Hurts to beat us with his arm, I think is the correct strategy probably to take. But it just didn't work out. Like, he made the plays, the receivers made the plays. And he beat you because you were selling out like that. So, So, I mean, I just think it caught up with them. Their offensive line needs work. They need more offensive weapons. Xavier Worthy had 2 touchdowns, but, clearly they're going to need more offensive firepower there, especially without, with Kelce. Who knows if he'll retire or not, but either way, he's just clearly not the same guy he used to be.
It was weird, too. The Chiefs, they missed having Tyreek Hill. They didn't miss him at all last year, but they could have used a Tyreek Hill this game. Because I'm watching back some of the highlights here. Like, Juju, he's not that fast. He's not as fast as Tyreek. Of course, he's faster than you or I. That's not tough. But like, he's not as fast as Tyreek. Hollywood Brown, he's not really like a fast guy. He's more like an inside slot receiver. They missed having like a burner on the outside, because that would have opened up. There was one. They did like a trips, I think it was in the third quarter when they were trying to come back. They did like a trips formation to the right, so up top from what we could see. And I could see them bunched, all 3. And typically a trips, you have somebody who drops like almost like an under. They do an under route. You have somebody that does like a post route out, so like almost like a curl to the outside. And then you have someone that just burns, and that's how you do trips. And they went to the behind the coverage thing to show it, and like they didn't have anybody they could burn. And it was like, man, you could have thrown the dagger right there. Like, if they would have had somebody over the top, that's a touchdown. That's a clear 6 right there. And they didn't have it, man. There was that. And then the other thing I found interesting about the Eagles was that they in the fourth quarter in particular, obviously they started putting in like their third stringers, which I think is just hysterical. But also like Kenny Pickett, he's going to get a ring, stuff like that. But they put in their third stringers and they still looked better than Kansas City's first string. Like, that was the shocking thing, man. And we're going to talk about the Lions in a sec, but that's what the Lions are missing. The Lions are missing a strength in depth, so that when somebody does go down, they have next man up. The Chiefs don't have it. The Lions don't have it.
No, I don't agree, but we'll talk about it.
That's fine. Well, I mean, yeah, that's fine. We'll talk about that in a minute. But like, the Chiefs most definitely did not have that. So whenever they win a man down this whole season, it was kind of like they struggled a little bit. And I don't know. Vegas has the odds out already, and of course the Eagles are set to win again according to the Vegas odds makers. Which you can't do anything, because Kellen Moore is now gone, and that Kellen Moore is the offensive coordinator. He's now where the heck did he go, Kellen Moore?
I didn't hear that he had got something already, so good for him though. But yeah. I mean, they've done this before. Wasn't this year both 2 new coordinators? Like, and they won the Super Bowl with 2 new coordinators. So like,
he went to the Saints, right?
Okay, yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
But like, Kellen Moore and Vic Fangio were both new to the Eagles this year,
right?
And they won the Super Bowl. So I mean, clearly they've shown that they can adapt, to changing coordinators and still be very successful, right? So
true.
The Eagles probably have the best roster in the NFL, though. Like, they've drafted incredibly well. I'm blanking on the name of their GM, right? Howie Roseman. Is an incredible GM.
Yep.
He has taken some gambles on guys like Jalen Carter, who could have gone number 1 probably in the year he was drafted.
Yep.
Well, maybe not number 1, but after Bryce Young and CJ Stroud and Will Anderson, he probably should have gone number 4 there in that year. And then he fell because of, that's a 2023 season.
Yes.
So it was Anthony Richardson. So he should have gone 5 maybe to the Seahawks. Anyway, but he fell a ways, and the Eagles ended up getting him. And he's a player that's absolutely paid off because, a lot of teams didn't want to draft him. The Lions were pretty heavily criticized for trading down and not drafting him. And then they took Jahmyr Gibbs, and I think that's worked out largely. But Jalen Carter was seen as a risk, a guy who had a lot of off-field issues.
Yep.
And he's like turned into like a superstar for them in his second year, and doesn't seem like he's having any problems. And, one of the guys in our Discord, shout out Pastor Druzy, is a huge Georgia Bulldogs fan. And just talking about how like there's like 5 or 6 guys from that Georgia that won national championships with Georgia on that defense for the Eagles, and they're all killing it. And then this year they had 2 rookies, I think, starting in their secondary, maybe 3, and they all like Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean for sure. And I think they had a safety as well. And all 3 of them were playing like incredibly well. So just absolutely lights out drafting, and a lot of young players too. So the Eagles are going to be a problem for a while yet.
2 things to finish this up real quick. Number 1, do you call it the tush push or the brotherly shove? What are you in the mood for?
What am I in the mood for?
Yeah, like what? Where's your fancy? The tush push? I don't call
it anything. But the brotherly shove is funny. Like that, I find.
Yes.
Because I got tired of hearing tush push. The brotherly shove is a lot funnier to me.
I agree. It's going to be outlawed no matter what happens. It's going to be outlawed. They're going to have to.
I mean, yeah, I guess maybe. I mean, I guess because they won this year, maybe it will. Like,
well, but like it's if you watch how, so it comes from rugby, right? Like it's a rugby scrum, and the way they do it in rugby is it's safer. They actually have guys locking arms, and you're allowed to there's a little bit of movement that you're allowed to do, and you're pushing. Essentially, you're locking shoulders and pushing. The way they do it in the NFL, and you could see Chris Jones when the only time they really did the brotherly shove in this game was at for. I can't remember which touchdown it was. It doesn't matter. It might have been the first touchdown. But they go head first, into each other. And Chris Jones actually got his head, if you watch the replay, his head bent this way. And they showed him over on the sidelines, getting some chiropractor, adjusting his neck, because it's a dangerous play. And the way, because the NFL, they just launch their helmets at each other. So they'll have to adjust it. The NFL doesn't allow, you can't lock arms on the line because you'd be invincible. It's just Red Rover at that point. So I don't know. I think it's going to be outlawed just on hey, we don't know how to manage this, so we're going to take a year and figure it out. So that's number 1. And I guess number 2, and this is stupid. Where do you sit on the Taylor Swift Travis Kelce marriage proposal thing? Do you think that Travis would have proposed if they would have won?
I don't care.
Do tell me about your love.
I don't care. I'm tired of seeing Taylor Swift at football games. I have nothing against Taylor Swift. I don't care. I have nothing against Travis Kelce. I just don't. I don't know. It's just she receives so much attention, and I understand why. I get it from a business perspective for the NFL. So I don't really begrudge them doing it, but I'm whatever. I wish them well. I hope it works out for them. She's had a obviously long, well-known history of relationships not working out, so I wish them the best. But I don't care. Should
I just put Taylor Swift on the thumbnail for this episode?
Yeah,
just to get clicks.
You should. For the algorithm.
Yeah,
of course.
It'll be Taylor. It'll be a Taylor of football, and then
a surprise face. There's got to be you being something shocking. Shocking NFL.
Yeah.
You never would have guessed what Taylor Swift did, but whatever.
Okay, yeah, done. That's our thing.